Hey guys, welcome back to White Mountain Arms. My name is Vince, and today I got another video to upload for you. Yes, I know I didn't upload one last week. Fortunately, there was some inclement weather, and well, I'm here to make it up to you guys. So, I've got another rifle to talk about some history, an overview, and personal opinion on. So, let's get started. Alright, so like I said, I got another video for you guys, and I'm sure you guys are wondering what this firearm is. It's a rifle, it looks like. Let's go ahead and not further delay. So what we have here today, let's move this case, put it on the floor. Is a Swiss K31 or Karabiner model 1931. It is chambered in 7.5 by 55 Swiss, which I conveniently have a stripper clip here of, and I will go ahead and put the round right next to a soda can so you can see in real time exactly how big they are. I have the original stripper clip that would have been issued in the military, and it's this waxy cardboard stripper clip with aluminum. And it had some water resistance, but not necessarily waterproof. So, as far as this firearm is concerned, let's go ahead and take a deep dive in history and my opinion of this firearm and some cool things that I've noticed. So, I know quite a bit about this firearm as far as in general, but let's go ahead and explain the firearm itself first. How did I get this? So, this firearm was purchased from Simpson Limited. I highly recommend them if you are into military surplus rifles, pistols, doesn't matter what you are into as far as military surplus is concerned. They sell a lot of stuff that's military surplus, but notably they sell a lot of the military surplus rifles. They also collect Lugers and sell them. And so they are really well known for military surplus, and I highly recommend them. I purchased this for $550 plus shipping, so it was a little bit over $600 with FFL fees and everything. Speaking of FFL, they ship directly to your FFL once it's processed. If you have a Curios and Relic license, they will ship it directly to you once they obtain your license information. How it goes with ordering is they order over the phone. They'll go over essentially the condition of the firearm. It is your job to view the firearm online and see if that's something that you're more than willing to take. With online purchases, it is all dependent on you and how you want to handle it. They worked with me. They were really good. They were really fast at getting my payment done and getting this sent out. They were really, really good with following up with me on it. And they also gave me a pen, and it comes with every order, and it has a light on it. And it's just super handy when taking a look at the bores on the rifle. So, like I said, highly recommend Simpson Limited for purchasing your military surplus rifles and stuff. The link will be in the description below. Getting away from that, what is this rifle? So, this is a K31, which is the Karabiner 1931, model 1931. This was made in, essentially, it was brought up in the late 20s and adopted by the Swiss military in 1931, hence the name 31. The reasoning behind this was kind of twofold. They wanted something smaller, and they wanted something cheaper. So, the rifle that this was going to be replacing was the model 1896-11, which was quite a big rifle. And so they ultimately came up with the design of this, which is a shortened version of that with a lot cheaper materials made, but ultimately the cheaper the material got on this, the better the rifle it was. This rifle is regarded as one of the most accurate military surplus rifles you can get. A lot of mil-surp guys rave on these rifles. If they know what it is and they've had it in their collection, they rave on these rifles. I mean, you look at Iraq veteran 8888, they rave on this rifle. He raves on this rifle constantly. Readiness Reviews also does too. It's just it's very, very common within the milcert community if you are very much into it. So getting away from the history for just a moment, let's talk about this specific firearm. So this firearm was made in 1935. It has a walnut stock. Some of them you'll find they'll have the beechwood stock. I love the walnut stock better. It just looks nicer. And the reason why I went for it was just look at the variation in this wood. I mean, it's so cool. I mean, it reminds me of the Finnish M39 Mosin Nagants. Literally, except it's not Arctic birch. I really wish it was, but it's not Arctic birch. So this rifle was made in 1935, and the rifle came with the original sling, which is a leather sling that was issued with this rifle. It's in really good shape. Doesn't feel like crusty or anything that, just nasty feeling. It feels nice. And so it has the original roller coaster sights here that go out to about, I believe it's 1,500 meters. And has the Swiss crest in the middle here. I'll put a picture up. This rifle is completely numbers matching from the barrel to the receiver, the bolts. It is completely numbers matching. So even the magazine, it is a detachable magazine too. The magazine even matches with the serial number on everything else. So this rifle in general, I'm sure that if you are not familiar with this rifle and it's just your first time seeing it, you're like, well, this looks so weird. What action is this? So believe it or not, and before I start into that, this also has a safety. Currently it's in safe. And if I pull back and twist, it goes into ready, or essentially a firing mode. But nonetheless, this is considered as a straight pull bolt action rifle. There are various different types of bolt action rifles that have been made. There is the Mauser style action, which is the most common action you've seen on any rifle. Any hunting rifle you can think of has a Mauser style action. It's very, very well known. It is considered as a cock on open mechanism. So that means that the firing pin cocks when it's rotated and opened up. The next one is the Lee Enfield action, bolt action rifle, which is a cock on close. I do have a video of that, and it will be posted up in the cards or in the description below, whichever one you choose. And that one essentially cocks when the bolt is pushed in and rotated. For the other one, the Mosin Nagant, it's kind of a mixture between the Mauser style and its own kind of flair, where it's a cock on open, but it's only cocked partially. And there's not too much information for me to really describe about that. Eventually, I will hopefully get a Mosin Nagant rifle, whether it be an M39, which I really, really would love, or any particular Mosin Nagant. I will be sure to go ahead and give you an in-depth review on that as well. So, and then the final one is a straight pull bolt action rifle, which is what this is. So literally it's just you pull back and you go. Well, you wonder, how does this work? How can you pull back and go forward? Don't you have to rotate the bolt? You do, but it's done in a very unconventional way. You see, this action is considered as the Schmidt-Rubin style action. Schmidt-Rubin came up with this action in 1889 for the Swiss rifles. And so they came up with it for the 1889 Schmidt-Rubin pull bolt action rifle. I have a Sporterized Schmidt-Rubin 1889. That one is another one we could talk about in another video. Nonetheless, when the bolt is pulled back partially, the lug is rotated. So the way you can see this is if you watch the serial number, and I'll put a video of this over here so you can see it. You see the serial number kind of disappear while I'm pulling the bolt back. And then it's completely gone, and then you can pull the bolt straight back. And then when you close it, it rotates up. that's essentially how that works and how it locks in, is when you start pulling it back. It's done on a guide rail system, so it kind of looks like this, and then it goes straight. So it's just very unconventional how this works, but it's super cool nonetheless. And it's kind of a big action for what it is compared to a Mauser, but it's very reliable still nonetheless. And so to continue on the history of this, the Swiss military in the mid-20s were wanting to find a shorter version of the 1896 11 rifle. So the 1896 11 rifle, to give you some brief history on it, after the 1889 was produced, the 1896 was produced, which ultimately updated it and made it a little bit better as far as the action was concerned, etc., but still used a 7.5 by 53.5 millimeter cartridge. And so when 1911 came around, the Swiss military decided to consolidate everything because there were multiple other variations of the 1896 that had different size ammo. And they wanted to vary it all the way down to one specific cartridge. That cartridge was a 7.5 by 55, also known as the GP11 in the Swiss Schmidt-Rubin community. And so the GP9, as it was also called for the 7.5 by 53.5 Swiss cartridge, was phased out in favor for the 7.5 by 55 GP11 ammo. The GP9 ammo is almost non-existent. You're not going to find it. You have to reload it. And there's a way you do it, and I'm not going to explain it in this video. That's something I can explain in another video, maybe when I do review that 1889 Schmidt-Rubin. Nonetheless, the 7.5 by 55 was chambered for the 1896 11. They rechambered it for that cartridge so that it could be able to be used and everything could be consolidated down. Time goes on, roughly, like I said, the late 20s comes around, and the Swiss military is looking for a service rifle that's shorter, that can be not as cumbersome, and a little bit easier to manage. So, eventually, they came up with the Karabiner, model 1931, and they fully adopted it in 1931. So, the manufacturer where this was made at was a Waffenfabrik Bern, or Weapons Factory Bern, of Bern, Switzerland, B-E-R-N, Switzerland. And they made these rifles. Pretty much almost all the Schmidt-Rubin style action rifles were made in Bern. And so ultimately, that's where you see them at very commonly. And so these rifles were used from 1931 all the way up until the 70s, literally. I mean, they did not discontinue this from service until sometime in the mid-70s, roughly. And with this rifle, they did stop making it in the mid-50s, early to mid-50s, roughly, in favor for another rifle. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. But ultimately, they kept this in service until then. And once the 70s hit, they unfortunately had to discontinue it from service and to, unfortunately, put it away. But nonetheless, this rifle is very, very accurate. And so because of that, with Switzerland, the funny thing with them is that if you want a Second Amendment close country to where you can just go and shoot firearms, Switzerland is pretty dang close. You can own a firearm in Switzerland and be able to go shoot freely when you want to, and they actually encourage it. According to Swiss law, they require a village, every single village in Switzerland, to have access to a shooting range and a gun club that can be there. I really wish a law like that would end up being here, but that's not going to happen. Nonetheless, this rifle is still being used by competition shooters in shooting clubs in Switzerland. This is still being used. They are still importing these too from Switzerland into the U.S. This was imported from Switzerland. There's a lot of Swiss marks. There's a Swiss mark on the stock and the big Swiss crest on the receiver, which I'll go ahead and put photos up with that right now. And there's a lot of Swiss items, just Swiss cross marks everywhere across this rifle. And it's such a very good rifle. I cannot rave and be able to continue to keep raving about how good quality this rifle is, because it's just, for the amount of money they had to put into it, I mean, it was a lot of money. You're looking at a couple $1,000s in today's money to make these rifles. And they're much less than that now. And it's just very well crafted, like you would expect from something from Switzerland to be. And it's such a good looking rifle. And I mean, you can just take the bolt out, literally. It's all you do is pull back, and then you press down on this right here, and it pulls the bolt out, literally, just like this. Put it in. You literally push down on it, put it in, and then you go down, if you have nothing loaded, obviously, push down on the magazine, and send it home. Literally, it is that easy to field strip this firearm. But nonetheless, this also has the barrel protective clip right here, which you can remove and put back on. This also has a Swiss mark on it. And this little hook here is meant for putting a fabric for a tent, so that these rifles would sit in the snow and that the fabric would hang on this hook here for a tent to be made. That's why sometimes as well, when you do see firearms that are of this, like the K31s, with a lot of worn stuff down here, it was because it was used in snow. And eventually years of snow would weather this away. Nonetheless, the K31, in my opinion, is one of the best rifles in terms of build and quality. And this thing never even saw war. Because Switzerland, as you may know, may or may not know, is a neutral country. They were never involved in any war. This thing has never seen any wartime. But I will tell you this. Israel had 200 units of the K31s sent over to them, and that was used during their wars, and they were very, very accurate during those wars. So this has some credibility for being accurate. We just don't know what the capabilities of it would be, because it was never used in wartime. As far as being in physical war. Nonetheless, I hope you find this interesting. Again, I recommend taking a look at Simpson Limited if you're wanting to pick one up yourself. I paid about $550 for this example. It's got a couple chips here and there. I mean, this is a almost 90-year-old rifle. It's expected to have all this. As well, before I let you go, fun fact: this rifle has a if you remove the butt plate on the back, if you may or may not know, has a soldier's tag in it with the name of the soldier who this rifle was issued to, and possible personal identifiers, and as well the city where they're from. So just a little tidbit there. Nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. I really would appreciate that. That allows it to go to more people. Subscribe to the channel so that you can keep following up on videos that like this that may interest you. As well, go ahead and hit the notification bell. It definitely will help you as far as being able to see these videos when they do come out. Like I said, I do apologize for not getting one out on Thursday. It was kind of a rough day that day. We were out of town, and as well, the weather was pretty bad up here, especially yesterday too. So I hope this makes it up for you guys, and you'll be seeing this a lot more often as well. And at the end of the day, go ahead and do all those. Follow me on X as far as White Mountain Arms is concerned, and as well, support us on Patreon. We definitely would appreciate your support if you can, so that you can see more stuff like this on your feed and allow me to be able to present it to you and be able to do some cool stuff. Otherwise, that's all I have for today, and I hope you guys enjoy this content. Take care, guys.